Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Well, today it's raining like crazy, but what do we have here? What the heck is a Wenzel? Well, I'll show you. Well, this is a kerosene lantern, and the original company that made these started out in 1910 in Germany. It's called a Petromax. This is a late model one. They still make them today in Germany, but there's 3 other countries that have made them also, and this is one of those. This one's about 43 years old, but they were kind of the epitome of the lanterns, as far as high quality. A lot of interesting features on them. And so this one has one really nice feature here. Has this really nice shade on it. Well, over the weekend we went to a Coleman collector's little get-together, and they have a display. They've been around for a long time in the Northwest, and for a number of years they didn't have these meets, but lucked out they put one on again, and so we're just wandering around and looking at stuff, and came in on the front aisle, just kind of walking through the tables and looking at all the neat and interesting stuff. And on the last aisle, this was sitting there. And I thought, wow, that is really a neat piece. I didn't look at it very close. I just kind of walked by it because I thought, man, this thing's going to be really expensive. And so we wandered around a little bit, and the guy who had the display wasn't there, and then later on I was over looking at it again, and I looked on the top here, and the price on it was next to nothing. And so I asked the guy, I said, well, what's wrong with this? And he said, well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's brand new old stock. And he said, I just don't have any interest in it. And so, being I'm Mr. Thrifty or Mr. Cheap, with such a good price, I didn't even have to bargain with him. I just gave him the dough and called it good. Like I said, it comes with a nice original wooden box. And this pretty nice top here. Also comes with a bunch more stuff here. Got a little advertising BS sheet here. And then a bunch of other goodies. And it comes with a owner's manual, parts manual, a little fuel funnel. This is kind of neat because it's got an angled spout on it here, so that when it's in the filling position it's straight up, and also has a screen in it to keep any debris out. Came with a tool kit and some mantles, a little bottle for priming the preheating system in it. So we'll talk a little bit about how these things work. Like I say, it's kerosene and not gasoline like Colemans mostly are. So it has a typical features that most lamps do, like this. This one, the fuel cap here, has a gauge on it. And then it has a pump here for pressurizing the tank. And then the knob that adjusts the amount of fuel coming up, and it mixes up in a burner up in the top here. This is a single mantle lantern. And most of the Colemans are 2 mantles. And this one is a later model and has another interesting feature right here. You can see this little lever here. In an up position like this, it keeps any fuel or air from coming in here, and you can push this down. It'll send a jet of fuel and air up here, and you can light it, and it'll heat up the generator here so that the kerosene will burn, because kerosene in liquid form is not flammable, only as a vapor. So that is kind of an interesting little addition there. And so inside of here, and there again we'll come over and do a close-up on it in a bit, but there's a little tray in there. You fill this up with denatured alcohol and pour it in that cup, and then you light it, and it creates a flame and a heat, and it comes up and gets the piece in here, the generator, hot, so that when you open the valve here, it gets pressure of the fuel system. It comes up and goes up into the head there, where it mixes with air and becomes flammable and lights. And so typically, like a Coleman lantern or others, it has a mantle. And the thing on this one, the mantle on it is a lot bigger than most, and that's typical of kerosene lanterns. Here's a Coleman one by comparison. You can see it's a lot smaller. But these put out 500 candle power. But the way it's designed and stuff, if the light is bright enough, especially with the shroud on there, it's the equivalent of 400 watts of light, whereas Colemans are usually about 100. So anyway, just to show you some of the little goodies it came with too. It was some tools here, and there's also a kit in there for rebuilding the air pump, and a wrench here to take it apart and service it. And then on here, you won't be able to see it, but there's this little teeny wire through there, and you can clean the main jet with it. They get plugged up with carbon over time. So it's amazing that, you know, companies used to make stuff that was serviceable and would last forever. So, like I say, the thing that caught my eye was, you know, it was just such a great looking piece compared to the Colemans. You know, this is a lot fancier and nicer. Now this was a pretty old Coleman here. This is made in the early 30s here, and it has a mica lens on it because tempered glass hadn't been invented yet. But it has the same features. You know, you've got a valve for turning on the fuel. This one uses an external pump to pump it up with the air. You open this up, and there's a little hand pump, and pressurize it, close it, and there's a check valve in here. And then the bottom of it's your fuel fill. But you know, they didn't have a big top like this to reflect the light in the early years, and the later ones. This is 1949 Coleman. It has a big top on it. It's called a big hat because it's a lot bigger shade than it has on the early ones. So anyway, okay, well, like I say, this lamp was originally a Petromax out of Germany. And the name Petromax came from two things. First part is petroleum, and the guy who put them on the market in 1910 was Max Graetz, so he used his first name, so Petromax. So anyway, things like this are why I shouldn't leave the reservation here, because you know, my magnetic personality kicks in, and you know, it's good for wood, metal, chrome, plastic, chainsaws, outboard motors. You know, you get the idea. So anyway, it's nice to have a bunch of diverse hobbies. So We'll see you soon on the next exciting vintage video.